I'm Lanisha Robinson, your host for Career and Technical Education, #Build a Future. Our goal is to show a variety of the career and technical education, CTE programs we have within St. Lucie Public Schools. These programs are leading the way directly into the workforce for many of our students. Students are earning industry certifications, participating in state and national competitions from the skills learned directly from their CTE classroom. We at St. Lucie Public Schools take pride in knowing our CTE students are actively closing the skills gap needed in our community. In this episode of Career and Technical Education, #Build a Future, you will meet Mr. Kevin Fess from Northport K-8 School and learn how these students are getting the leading edge in STEM. Welcome. Please go ahead and introduce yourself and what school.
My name is Kevin Fess. I'm at Northport K-8, I'm the STEM instructor.
Okay. All right. So what exactly is STEM?
STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. So in my course, we explore all types of things in those fields.
Yep. All right. And how long have you been in education?
This is my 12th year as a teacher and in St. Lucie County at Northport. So I've had lots of different roles there.
Okay. So to stay current in the field, especially looking at STEM, all right, there's so many things that's evolving. There's new things coming out. So what do you do to stay current in the field?
Well, I am currently being trained through Project Lead the Way, which is a hands-on educational system that lets the students explore to find out the answers to questions, questions they have or questions that are posed to them. I also, just for my own edification, stay up on a lot of technology articles and bring things into the classroom that might supplement some of the curriculum to make it as interesting as possible and relevant to the students.
Okay. And why is it important, let's say if for our viewing audience, and they're hearing this STEM, there's always something new coming out with STEM. There's always another school saying, hey, we have STEM. Why is it important for them to have that awareness and that education and that background in that?
It certainly is a buzzword. But oftentimes it's referring to the skills that students are going to need to get those next level jobs and further themselves in careers. A lot of times in just the book learning situations, students aren't able to be as creative as they possibly can be. And this just allows them to explore a different part of themselves and just to gain a whole bunch of skills that they wouldn't be able to get otherwise.
Okay, so you mentioned skills, all right? So what are some things that we could expect to see if we were to shadow a student in your classroom? All right, so what are some hands-on demonstrations or some skills that we would actually see?
Well, students are oftentimes given a task in my classroom and given a wide range of materials and oftentimes a fake budget with fake money. And they're asked to work together, sketch out some ideas, do some online research, and then put together a solution, oftentimes via projects that they're able to showcase. And a lot of times they don't work, but that's just part of the process. That's how we learn. We learn by failure, and when we're successful, we celebrate.
Okay. So do you believe that with these skills you mentioned, basically finance in a way, so how are they be able to use those skills in their future?
Well, a lot of the jobs that they're going to try to get will be based computer-based. So everything in our program is computer-based. They learn coding skills that they could use to get a job in the computer programming. But also in engineering, they'll be able to problem solve a lot better with physical materials and also in a digital space, which could be very useful in an engineering career.
Okay, so when you said like engineering career, so what are the different courses, like whether the actual course description or the actual course name?
Sure, we have 3 courses right now. We're hoping to expand soon to a 4th. We have Energy and the Environment, Medical Detectives, and Flight and Space.
Okay. So looking at your students, what's the most exciting, the most appealing experience that they have in your classroom?
It would really be hard to narrow it down to one, but I would say if I had to pick one, the rockets, because we use real fireworks as the engine, so they go about 400 feet up and the students get pretty excited. Second closest would be the brain dissection, but you're either a fan of that or you're not.
Okay, so can you elaborate on that? What exactly is a brain dissection? Are you actually taking a human brain? Is it on computer? Like, what exactly is that?
It's a sheet brain. It's towards the middle of the medical detectives unit. Students have learned all the parts of the brain, as well as a lot more other things about the human body. But they do get to cut open the brain and label the parts with toothpicks and little labels, and they usually enjoy it.
And they're getting that at what grade level?
That is in 7th grade.
Wow. So it's 7th grade, because usually you don't hear about anything about like dissection, anything like that level until high school. And some students don't even get that until beyond high school, if they enter college.
Right.
So that's awesome.
It
All
is.
right. So you were talking about like with the fireworks display, and what exactly you were talking about, like that was something that you all do with using fireworks. Can you elaborate
Right.
on that?
I can. Actually brought one with us here. So the students create a lot of projects in flight and space. This is one of the rockets that the students designed, and it does have a small fireworks at the bottom. Students are given some limitations to make sure that we don't have any accidents, but they do get a fair amount of control when it comes to designing the fins here at the bottom, so that they can make it go as high as possible, or in some cases they try to make them spin, which gets me a little nervous, but so far we've been good. Yep, that's it for the rockets. We do also actually have one of those aforementioned sheep brains here. So they come very cleanly packaged, which I do appreciate as the teacher. And so, yeah, this is one of the ones that they would dissect in class. Yep.
Wow. So do you find doing these kind of types of activities, these types of lessons, do you feel that it's easy to kind of cater to students who are looking into what they should be doing for future classes at Northport?
Absolutely. So I certainly have some students that come in more interested than others, but it's my job as part of the curriculum is to get them excited about it. So the first thing we do in each of those 3 modules is do a career exploration where they can find out what are the careers that could be possible if I pay attention in this class. And then one of the things that gets a lot of students most excited is how much do those jobs pay? Because primarily they're pretty well-paying jobs. So the students get excited, if not for the curriculum, but for the potential earnings down the road.
Okay, awesome. So do you all do any field trips, taking your students off campus, or any virtual field trips that you all participate in?
We do. We have been fortunate enough to visit IRSC. They have a laser and photonics lab and a robotics lab that we've been able to visit the last couple of years. They've also been nice enough at IRSC to provide us with some materials so that I can actually do some lasers and photonics curriculum teaching and hands-on demonstration with the students.
Okay, so your students are making that connection of not only at the middle school level, but what they can do post-graduation from high school into the next level, looking at college as well.
Absolutely.
So that's awesome. That's awesome.
It is.
So looking at that, because you all take field trips, do you all ever bring any guest speakers to your classroom?
Well, I know that previous to my being in this position, a couple years ago, we did have some EMTs visit for the medical detective unit, and I'm working on bringing that back in. But we have, this past year, we've had some Skype visitors to the classroom. So we've had an engineer talk to the class, and we've also been able to take virtual field trips to the high schools to see what that next level of the curriculum would look like in their individual programs. We actually have one scheduled for next week, the week after.
And
Yeah.
who is that with?
I believe that is with the robotics unit at one of the high schools.
Fort Pierce Central?
Fort Pierce Central.
Okay, yes, I heard
right.
about that. So I know Fort Pierce Central, the Aerospace Technology Program, Dr. Bishfam, he's actually going to be inviting everyone, because I was like, I would love to see that more. So we'll get more feedback on that from you all at the end of that. Now, leading into that, all right, so we're talking about what students can earn, but also what about industry certifications that you all offer?
Okay, yes, we do, as part of the computer side of our program, we do offer a business certification from CIW called Internet Business Associates, and that's basic computer skills, but also how to deal with other people in an office. So there's a lot of email questions and things like that. So the students get a wide variety of information on what it would be like in the business world. So not only preparing them to be, smart and intuitive, but also to deal with the day-to-day and how to email your boss back without using emojis and stuff like that.
And that is very well said, because a lot of students, they don't realize that. So basically you're looking at employability skills, looking at those soft skills.
Absolutely.
Do you all do anything else with that, looking at employability skills?
We do, in the sense that we do a lot of presentations in the class, which I get a lot of hesitation from at the beginning of the year. Why do we have to stand up here? But I know that coming through school, it's very important early on to get very comfortable giving speeches and giving presentations, just showing what you found out and being able to answer questions on it. So we do a lot of that to make sure that the students are very comfortable and well-versed with their own project, and then how to just deal with the response.
Okay. So do you believe that your program is especially helping them out at the next level, looking into high school? Yes.
Absolutely. I've heard from a lot of students that have told me that they were very prepared, over-prepared, which I don't mind hearing that. I've had a few students email me, tell me that they've gone on and added to their certifications, or they've gotten certified in something that I taught them that I wasn't able to certify them in as a middle school teacher, which is totally understandable. But the high school teachers were able to get them prepared more easily because I'd already given them that foundation.
Now, one of the things I do appreciate is when I was able to visit your classroom, I was actually able to speak with some of your students. They were telling me that because of your program, it was actually helping them to prepare, like you mentioned, for the high school level. Some of them are actually looking at some of the magnet programs that are out there. I know one mentioned their aerospace program at Fort Pierce Central. Others mentioned some programs at Port St. Lucie High School, Treasure Coast. So it's really good that you're also pushing them to be excited for the next level.
I agree.
All right, so you brought some other stuff for us to see.
Sure. So this one is from our Energy and the Environment unit. This is a student Energy and the Environment unit is basically alternative fuels and trying to get ourselves ready as a society for moving away from fossil fuels. So this is an example of one of our students that created a wind turbine. So as the wind spins, this electricity would be generated here. And then they measured it using a multimeter. And then in other projects, we would try to turn on a light bulb or things like that. Last week, I had a student turning my daughter's old bicycle into a light bulb generator by turning the handles. So I get a lot of questions about why there's a pink princess bicycle in my classroom, but I can deal with it. We've got one other thing here. This is an airplane that I know might look like a balsa wood airplane that anyone might have made when they were in third grade or maybe sixth grade. But this one here was computer generated first. So the students generate their ideas in the computers. They test them out to make them an optimal design, including adding the weight. So this lump of clay here was actually measured by gram to make sure that it was exactly to specification for the computer model that the student made. So it gives them a much higher chance of actually flying than maybe they would have 20 years ago when they were doing something kind of similar. And then I did bring here, we've got a drone. We have students in the flight and space program that do fly drones, and we were actually invited out to Treasure Coast's Land, Air, and Sea Challenge to go up against other middle schoolers. It wasn't graded or scored or anything, but we were able to fly through a course, so the students were very excited to prepare for that and be able to show off their skills. And then last we have got a tetrahedral kite that the students made, again in flight and space. This is towards the beginning of the unit. So students are very apprehensive at this design because they've only seen primarily a diamond-shaped kite. So when you tell them that this is the shape they're trying to make, they're very, very confused until the last day when they actually fly, weather permitting.
Okay. All right. We're now going to take a break. All right. We're going to show a video created by Mr. Newton and his students from St. Lucie West Centennial High School. All right, so can you share with us once again the benefits of your program?
Sure. The students who go through our program, they get a lot of hands-on experience. They're able to think outside the box in a lot of different ways, that create a lot of new products that might never exist everywhere outside of my classroom, but at least students know that they made something that started from nothing, and they were able to be as creative as possible. One of the other benefits I haven't talked about is that my students, because to be in the North Stars in my program, you have to have a certain reading level, which means the students don't have to go to reading class, which is how they have time for this. But they're also able to take Spanish in 8th grade, which is not something that other students have the ability to do. So the students, my 8th graders, are actually getting ready for their Spanish test, which will get them a high school credit that they wouldn't have otherwise going in, which is very beneficial for them.
Now at Northport, you say that it's called the North Stars program. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Explain what exactly is a North Star program?
Sure. The North Stars are around the top 25% of students in the reading and math achievement level, as well as students that have been labeled gifted. And those students, again, they don't have to have reading class, so they get just some other opportunities because they have a little more time in their day. So we have STEM classes and then the Spanish classes. So that's 2 sections, 2 6th grade classes, 2 7th and 2 8th. So they're with me for all 3 years, as well as with the Spanish teacher. So it's very beneficial for them to have that much time in those courses.
Okay. And then North Stars program is actually affiliated with Project Lead the Way, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Our curriculum for my course is Project Lead the Way. So yes, that's where the students log into Project Lead the Way. It's where they find their curriculum on most days, and days that I'm not supplementing with my own.
Okay. So what exactly we're looking at now, going back to some of the items that you brought in, and we're also going to talk about what exactly you have mentioned, energy and environment. How does that play a role in your program?
So energy and environment, students are able to discover lots of ways that we can move away from fossil fuels. So we go through biomass, wind power, hydropower, hydrogen power, which is one that the students are not very familiar with. They've all heard of a water turbine, but not a lot of them have worked with a hydrogen fuel cell before. So they're able to actually separate water into hydrogen and oxygen and allow them to come back together, creating electricity. And it's a lot of eye-opening experiences in that class, especially with biomass, because it's either pretty simple or pretty gross in a lot of senses. So those projects vary greatly. So that was where this one came from, the energy and environment class. So students have a lot of different projects. This is the only one that would fit in my car, but we've got lots of different projects all over the room, some of which are very isolated because they don't smell very good.
Oh. Okay, so and then leading into that, you also mentioned drones, looking at flight in space. Do you want to elaborate on that as well?
Sure. So students are taken from the very basics of flight on the controls of the drones, and then we actually have one drone that was used from the bought through the yearbook department because it was used to take pictures. And since I am the sole member of the yearbook department, we were able to use that in our class too. So we have one 4K camera on a drone that goes, it's basically what you would see any realtor using to take pictures. So the students get hands-on in that too, which is just another one of the many careers that they could eventually go into, is drone piloting, to be a photographer, or even work on a movie set one day, because all those Avengers movies have drones in them now, taking those big aerial shots. So it's pretty exciting for a lot of students to be able to fly the drone when maybe they don't have the opportunity at home.
Right. Okay, and so you also mentioned we discussed Project Lead the Way, all right? Now, how does that tie into the medical detectives that you all as well do in your classroom?
Well, medical detectives is one of the Project Lead the Way modules. So every Project Lead the Way module is project-based, and they have, the students have to discover things on their own. So a lot of the things that the students discover in medical detectives are solving problems as far as what disease does this person have, finding out about lots of different ailments about the human body, and how doctors and other people in the medical field figure out what's wrong with patients. And then it actually goes into more of a criminal justice class where the students start using problem solving like a police detective would, but also looking for the human body clues that were left behind. And it actually culminates in a murder mystery So in one corner of my classroom for a large part of the year, there's fake bloody footprints on the ground. I use glittery paint so it doesn't look as real for my more squeamish students. But there's a whole little crime scene in the corner of my room for a large portion that certainly turns some heads when we get visitors.
Right. I know it turned my head when I came and I was like, what is this? So, and then also one of the days that I came in, your students were using lasers and photonics.
Yes.
What exactly were they doing with that?
So those, again, were from IRSC. I definitely want to give them full credit for those. But the students were actually creating a laser grid around some of my daughter's toys, just so that they would have some variety. So the students had to use mirrors to use reflection and refraction. They had some prisms and some mirrors. And the students had to basically create your stereotypical movie defense system around an object to make sure that if anyone penetrated the lasers, that the alarm would go off. So the students had a lot of fun challenging each other, and they would go to the other groups and try to steal their jewels. It was a lot of fun.
Okay. And I know another portion of your program that you all deal with is robotics. So what do you do with robotics with your students?
With the robots, we have an actual robot arena. It's about 12 by 12 feet where the students are able to battle it out, which is, of course, their favorite thing, but students also are given set parameters to try to go forward 3 steps or 3 feet, left 2 feet, right 2 feet, and then pick up a ball and follow directions, be able to program the robot to do other things besides seek and destroy. One of the things about the lasers I want to mention is that we do go into a lot of the future careers that the students could be able to pursue, because those fields are definitely increasing as we all move to fiber optic cable, which is all lasers inside of cables. So we do a lot of talking about the angles that those pipes can be laid at and how that can be restricted, because the light would eventually leak out of the crystal tubes.
Okay. So with our viewing audience, one of the things that we want to stress and the importance of CTE programs, which is career and technical education. Can you explain to us why is this program vital to our community in St. Lucie County?
Well, being in CTE for about 5 years now, the only thing I've ever heard is that more employers in our area want students to be more career ready. I mean, everyone can't go to college, so there's a lot of students that will end up moving straight into a career. And whether they go to college or straight to a career, it's important that they have a wide variety of skills in a lot of different areas, not just math and reading and writing, but they need to be able to problem solve, they need to be able to create products, meet deadlines, and work with clients. So those are all things that I try to prepare my students for. And in all CTE classes, students are better prepared for the workforce.
So as we prepare to close, all right, let's say someone's saying, hey, I want to find out more information about North Stars and looking at Northport K-8. Where can I find this information?
Well, Northport K-8, if you just Google that, you're going to find our school's website. My class website is Mr. Fess with no period, .weebly, weebly.com. And that has all of the North Star STEM specific information. Because that's my class. It's updated daily on the individual pages, but I did set up the homepage so that if people at home want to find out more about it, that's where they could go.
Okay. All right. So do you have anything else you want to add as we close?
Just thank you for having me.
I'm Lanisha Robinson, and this is Career and Technical Education, #BuildAFuture. That's all for this show, but we invite you to view our St. Lucie Public Schools Career and Technical Education page. Career and Technical Education is building career pathways, which are pipelines for all of our students. We are building a future and continuing to close the skills gap. On behalf of the station's team, I'd like to thank you for joining us today.